You know security is hard, so let's assume we're probably gonna get pwned by noon. But if we all start to get the basics right, we might not fully get pwned until tonight. Hey, how's it going? Hello. I was having all sorts of technical difficulties on my earlier stream, so I just kind of want to make sure if you can just give me a hello in the chat if things are working. Just that audio is fine. I would appreciate it. Okay, that was a hi, but so I assume that means you can hear me. Okay, hello. All right. If lips are moving but you hear no audio, please let me know. I did a stream earlier today. It was definitely a bit of an experiment. It was the first ever live taping with video of a 7-minute security podcast episode. And I tried to be all professional with it. Like I had a couple minutes of just me video footage, kind of like pre-show banter, but pre-show indoor skydiving footage. So it was video footage of me just like flying on my back and doing stuff. And it said like, 7-minute security will start soon. So it was like a minute of that. Then just like if you were listening to the podcast, it would be this episode brought to you by blah, blah, blah. Then the jingle, then it was supposed to go to live video. But I have to go back. I didn't even have time to look at the actual recording. I think on my end, the skydiving video started to play and then it just froze. And then like 3 minutes later, it was like, boom, you're live. And so I was just so rattled. Like, is my machine locked up? I don't even know what's going on. So I will assume that everything's fine. And that if you can't hear me, somebody will let me know. But thanks for joining us. Welcome to Do It Yourself. What do we call this? Do It Yourself Pentest Dropbox Part 2. And let me share my screen real quick here so I can... what I wanted to do is just a quick review of what we covered last time and then cover some new material this time. Little, shameless self-promotion here. All the stuff that we do with YouTube and the podcast and such is here. So if you wanted to, for example, go back and check out part 1 of this series. We got this page has all the upcoming and past events. Okay, so boom, hit YouTube. You can go watch part 1. But at the very top is all of our upcoming stuff. So this morning we did the Tales of Pentest fail, and the recording itself might have been a fail. I don't know. Hopefully some people enjoyed it. We'll have an inception moment here because there's the video happening right now. Next week we've got Active Directory Defense 101 coming up, and this is always Thursdays at 1 p.m. Central if you want to block off your calendar for one or more events. And then I am going to, because I want to give this the old college try, Thursday, December 22nd, our 1 o'clock slot will be another live recording of the podcast. I figure I got to give it at least the college try twice or maybe 3 times to figure out if it's worth doing live. It was very stressful. But selfishly, I feel like if I just set aside time every week to just plan for it and record it, then it just makes it easier for me to rip out the audio, publish that tomorrow. But if you watch the video, you'll get a sneak peek of the content. And if you can believe it, if you listen to the podcast before, you know that I like to go on tangents. I didn't go on a single tangent this morning because probably I was so terrified of technical things not going right. And then just announced this morning, coming up Thursday, December 29th, is a session called Simple Ways to Test Your SIM. So yesterday, I was virtually attending a security conference here in Minneapolis called the Minnesota Government IT Symposium. And so it was a paid conference. I was trying to get like a link to let people join, but then I was like, oh, wait a minute, people are paying money to attend this. I probably shouldn't give the link out to friends and family. But I had a lot of interest in seeing this. So now we'll do it on a regular Thursday session. Okay. So This will be a session all about things you can do, easy like hands to keyboard attacks you can do on your own environment to figure out if your SIM is worth a darn. Because what we find in our pen tests is that we find the same things over and over and over and over and over again. So invite you to check out one or more of those sessions, and the link is in the chat there. Okay, let's do a quick recap of session one here, and you'll see I have my very official, very professional notepad notes. I will send this to you if you like. You can, leave me a actually, if you wanted to get a hold of me, I'll put up all the links at the end to our stuff. But you could send me a direct message, join us on Slack. I can give you these notes. But in a nutshell, what we went over in part one are hardware systems that work well for these drop boxes. I especially love various models of these Intel NUCs. So I included a little note here of all the models that we use in our arsenal of NUCs that work fine with ESXi. Just to reiterate a disclaimer that I think I shared last time, VMware has if you Google like VMware hardware compatibility list or HCL, you'll see all the different vendors they officially support. I don't know if one or all or any of these NUCs are on that list, but again, these models that I'm highlighting, I've had no problem with. One other footnote in the asterisks here, any of the models that have asterisks next to them, those require a custom network driver, and I've got a link here to where you can get that. That's the only problem I've had, is that I installed the vanilla ESXi, and at the end of the install, it says, I don't know how to work with my network card, which could be problematic, right? So following that link in the instructions will get your NUC on the network fine. And then just a couple other things. I made a strong recommendation to put at least 8 gigs of RAM on, I kind of go for 32 gigs of RAM on my boxes, because on my Kali VM, I assign at least 8 gigabytes of RAM, because Nessus, which is a vulnerability scanner that we use quite a bit, that's really hungry for RAM, and 8 gigabytes is about the minimum you would want on that. And then we went through, you can go through that video. We went through how to actually get ESXi downloaded, make a bootable USB, put it in there, get the software installed, turn on SSH so that it's always on, and then kind of start getting ready with our shell VMs. And what I mean by shell VMs is what I've built here is, if I look at the properties of, let's look at the Windows one, for example, I have built myself a shell, like an empty virtual chassis of a Windows jump box. So I've got 8 gigs of memory on it. I've got a 40 gig hard drive, 2 processors. And then I'm going to, in a bit here, when we get done talking about how to build ISOs that sort of automatically build out this VM, I will virtually attach it to this system, boot it, and then everything should just be kind of automagic. So that's what I mean by setting up VM shells. And then just to show you where this is one more time, once we get this NUC ready to ship, what I want to make sure happens is that when a customer gets it and they plug it into their network and power it up, I want to make sure it starts automatically. So in the interface here for ESXi, under manage and then auto start, by default, this enabled will be set to no, but you can just edit settings and change it to yes. And then you would just come down here like I've done on the Windows VM. And I think it would just say, let's see, what does it say when okay. So my Kali one, I do not have set to auto start. But if I wanted it to, I would just click enable. And then by default, I think the behavior is ESXi fires up, it waits for 120 seconds, and then boots one or more VMs. Okay. So we're kind of all set now. If you were to watch that video, we've kind of got all the pieces in place to build our VMs that are going to be on this Dropbox. But what I wanted to dig into today is, how do you build yourself, for example, a Windows ISO that will take care of building itself. So what I mean by that is, if I were just to download an ISO from Microsoft site and virtually attach it to this Windows box, I would hit power on, right? And then my little console would fire up, and then it would be just like a brand new Windows machine. So I'd have to set up a user account. I'd have to pick my time zone. I would have to, opt out of 74 and a half privacy violating checkboxes, right? Like, hey, you want us to send your Wi-Fi password to your grandma? No. Hey, do you want us to, set up a webcam in your bathroom while you're taking a shower? No. You got to answer all those questions. Those last two might not be on there, but I think you get what I mean. For me anyway, I don't want to have to go through that. I want that all to be automagic. Not only do I want it to be automagic, but then once the base OS is built, I want the Windows ISO to automatically pull down and install all my pen test tools. So that way I don't forget anything. And that way, once the Dropbox is out at a customer site, I don't have to go, oh shoot, I got to remote into that thing. And then I got to download a bunch of stuff off of, their internet connection that might be heavily web filtered, that might trigger early alerts that our box is doing something funny, which is okay. It happens sometimes, right? You got to go in later and download a couple tools that you missed. But what I don't like about that is sometimes that gives the client the idea of, oh, I would see you pull a tool off of kali.org. Therefore, I would catch every single bad thing a bad guy or gal would do. And our security gets an A+ here. It's like, well, hold on. That web filter trigger or alert, that's a good warning sign, but it's not a silver bullet. You're not going to catch everything. But anyway, that's the idea. That's what we're going for here. So let me just pull up my, again, very official notes for part 2 right here to make sure I cover everything that I want to cover. As it relates to pulling down a Windows ISO, a Kali ISO, ripping it open and kind of building your own, I find that this free AnyBurn utility is very handy. So it's just anyburn.com. You download it. I have already installed it. So I'll just bring it up so you can kind of see that this thing can do just about everything you can imagine with ISO files. So, if you want to extract one, if you want to, if you want to create an image file, which we're going to do at the end of this, if you want to create an ISO from a file, a set of files or folders, you can do that. But anyway, very nice little Swiss Army knife tool of ISO fun. And there's many other tools that can do that, but this is just one I've used for years. So, I just use what I know. Okay, so get that, and then let's look at the Windows build first. And if you really just Google, download Windows ISO, that should take you right here. I'm still using Windows 10 ISOs. I know 11 is out there. I've got 11 on one production machine here. I think everything I'm showing here would translate over to 11 fine, but just to call out, I'm specifically using a Windows 10 image. And what that'll have you do is download and run this installation media tool. So I've already done that. What is it called? Windows image? No, not that. Deployment. I don't know what it's called. Let me just start it so you can see kind of what this looks like. I just did some of this ahead of time so there wouldn't be like big pauses of time where we're downloading gigs of files and stuff. But this tool will let you right on the fly, I think, write to a USB drive and make a bootable Windows image. But what I did ahead of time is I just said, just download me an ISO to a folder on my machine. So I have this S drive here called put stuff here that I've pre-downloaded it to, but it's very easy to use. It's a little slow, in getting ready to use, but I'll come back to it when it catches up. But all you have to do is just choose the option for download the Windows ISO, and that's what I did here. Okay. Yeah, we'll just let that finish. Okay, so when I've got the Windows ISO downloaded, then I went to my friend AnyBurn, and I went to this option here, browse/extract an image file. Okay, so I'll just queue it up, but I won't do it just for the sake of time. But I said, okay, take the Windows ISO, blang, and next, what do I want to extract? By default, I just took everything. So I said okay to this. I said next, and then that's when I extracted to here, S drive W. Okay, W for Windows, K for Kali, because that's simple, and I am a very simple-minded person. Okay, so I would have hit next. Out would have came the extracted Windows, and now really what all I do at this point is put on. I copy into this folder the custom auto. Let me open that up again too. This was from session 1 or part 1 of this series. Oh, let me just show the rest of this. Okay, I'm going to create installation media and ISO file. Okay, and you just pick a path, it downloads it, and sets it there for you to use. Let me just review, but just show you what we went over in session 1 is we played with this file called autoattend. Okay, and this is probably better seen actually. What we talked about in our first session was building this file. So autoattend, think of it as the file that is going to answer questions that you want to automatically be processed when the Windows build starts, right? So as I was saying earlier, if I did just a vanilla Windows build, it wants to know language and what features I want on and off and blah, 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 million questions, right? This autoattend helps you speed through that and just answer all that stuff ahead of time. So I'm going to open up my answer file in this tool. And just because I think it has a lot of relation to what we're about to go into. And I took, sorry, I hate when I'm watching webinars and I'm like, what are they talking about? So I am repeating a little bit of session 1, but it's relevant stuff. I want to give you this link because this link is my go-to resource for building out this answer file. So rather than go setting by setting, I'm just going to tell you I left my answer file with, I think, 95% of the defaults that article covers. And really, that article covers things like, don't prompt me for what hard drive to use for Windows. Just pick C drive, and if anything's there, flip and format it, clear it off, lay down the Windows OS. And then there is some things in here where I choose like English as my language and a few other things to just speed the install along and not require any input from me. And then kind of the very last thing, let's see where it is. Really like the last operation I do that kicks off the rest of the install is, this might be it, first login commands. Let me try this area. I think this is it. Yes. Let me see if I can copy this out. And believe me, I'm sure there are cooler, slicker, more elegant ways to do this. But right at the end of my install, right? So the OS has been laid down, the system restarts, and then what I've chosen is for the following command line to get fired off. And this is an extremely basic PowerShell command that just goes out to a website that we have and pulls down a batch file. And then, oh, maybe there's, hold on a second. Is there one more command? I think one command pulls it down. Oh, and then this command actually runs it. That's all I'm doing. Super basic. Pull down a batch file, and run that batch file. So that is what I'm using to kick off the rest of the automated install. That'll lay down our tools, other preferences, that kind of stuff. So that's what I want to show you now. Let me just run quick back to the chat just to see if anything had come up from anybody else. No, I don't see anything. Okay, so and certainly you could, and what I did play with for a while is I kept adding a synchronous command that would be like install tool 1, and then another synchronous command that was install tool 2, so on and so on and so on. But the problem there, as you might imagine, is every time I do that, I would have to rebuild the ISO, re-upload it, rerun it. And then if there was problems with it, it ends up sponging up a lot of time. So by keeping it really simple, all I have to do is edit that bat file that is on the website that I control, and then I can control the whole post-installation process, if that makes sense. Okay, so let me just close a few things because I'm having self-diagnosed ADHD with all this stuff open. And let me show you just a few snippets of what is in this initial batch file. Okay, so again, the point where we're at is the OS install has finished. It's logged into the Windows desktop one time. It has pulled down a batch file called desktop01 and fired it. So the couple things that I have happen is, and I'm honestly, I'm going to have to Google this really quick. I don't remember what disable location wizard is. If that is, is that might be network location, where it's like, we're like, hey, are we a private network, a public network, a this, that, your mom's network? I think I just shut that off. I don't believe it interfered with the build process itself, but I think it just annoyed me because it popped up and it took over like a fourth of the screen. So that's what that does. Then I do set, this might have been possible to set in the autoattend file, but I just found it was really easy to call tzutil and tell it I am in Central Standard Time. Then boom, the clock is set to the right time. This is something, again, I'm old and old habits die hard. I remember on some of back when I was doing more sysadmin, network admin-y stuff, I remember we had issues with some of our software and some of our, what was it? We had like Altiris or a system like that would periodically go out and push updates and patch applications, things like that. And so even though it wasn't very eco-friendly, we didn't want our laptops that were out there, if they were plugged in, we didn't want them going into sleepy sleep mode. So this powercfg.exe just, I believe this is disable like the standby timeout sleepy time stuff. Just stay active, stay up on the network so that we can always mess with you after hours to do maintenance and things. And then, I know there are more pretty ways to do this, but once I get those few command line things done, then I kick off one other script. And that is just a PowerShell script that I turn down the execution policy on and run. And that does the bulk of post-install things like installing Windows updates, getting our pen test tools installed, etc. So let me show you a little bit of that as well, which I don't see here. So one second, let me just grab that and just show you a couple things that we plop into that, what do I call it? Desktop02.ps1. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I'm gonna, sorry, I'm gonna kind of copy and paste this live as we go, just to talk through it. Yeah, I didn't put it there, did I? Desktop one, no. Just bring up a notepad to show you some key things that this PowerShell script does. I like to know during this post-install process, I like to know if anything that I'm doing has failed. So at the very top of my PowerShell script, I begin a transcript that is set here to a file called _install log, so that when my whole routine runs, especially if I'm doing a lot of tweaks to it. I have had it, I've run into it where I have an error on my script 10 lines in and it's 100 lines long, and some error in that script kills the rest of the build. But yet the system still reboots itself and it looks like, hey, everything's good to go. And then I find out none of my tools are downloaded and I made a mistake. So I like to have this install log file, because at the very end of my post install routine, the system reboots. So I'm not watching it build, right? I'm not going to see red errors come through in PowerShell. I just want to be able to go back forensically, kind of, and look and see like, oops, did I fat finger something and ruin 2/3 of the script for the system? So I do that. I also, and if you want, some of these things that I'm showing, if you want, a hard copy, so to speak, just let me know, okay? I also set the network profile to private, and I think, why was that? I think the firewall was maybe getting in the way, and or constantly warning me to assign one location or the other. So I set it to private, and then also I just disabled the firewall by hard setting it for private domain and public. I think I think these, if I'm recalling, these two things I think I set together because, yes, that was it. What would happen sometimes by default is Windows would think, oh, I'm going to set public profile, and by doing so, blocked a bunch of communication, and I think I couldn't RDP or anything like that. So I just lowered the shields so that when I RDP into this and do final tweaks and such, I don't have to like go in through here, right? I don't have to go in through ESXi console, log into this kind of janky interface and fix it that way. Okay, so that was pretty important. And then I also did, I think I must have run into problems where, or maybe it's that RDP isn't always on by default, but this set the registry flag to and the associated firewall rule to get RDP allowed and able to connect to it. And then let me see. I'm just trying to look at some of the, oh, yes. And then this also helped as well, is that I wanted on the fly for Chrome to install. This is one I can definitely send to you as it's easier read than seen, probably, or it's easier to have it. This is something I found on, what is that site? Spiceworks, that has all the, good tips in it. So actually, and I'm bad at reading code, but I think what this is it downloads and installs an old version of Chrome installer. So I'm sure you could find whatever the current path is and do it that way. But also I know Chrome self updates on first run. So anyway, this is a sort of one-liner. Yeah, I guess it is. It's a one-liner that'll download and install the latest Chrome. And then let me just flip over. I think I saw some questions pop up. Alex says, hi, a friend from Brazil. Very cool. Hey, Alex. And Steve D says, Brian knows how to make hard copy of video. Better man than me. Steve, maybe let me know. Maybe let me know what you mean by that. I don't know if I'm not sure if I understand the question, but let me keep going and then I'll pop back to chat. Okay, install Chrome is important. What else was I going to say is important? Oh, here we go. So when you're doing pen testing and you want to do you want to have some of those Active Directory tools at your disposal, so you can quickly enumerate AD and snoop through user description properties, right? With like the Active Directory users and computers tool. This PowerShell command will install those tools for you just as a standard on your system. These are the kind of things that if you had to go and install these later when you're on the client site, probably not going to trigger their web filters or make them go, got you. But again, I'm kind of a purist in that I just want to have everything on the box and not have to, panic about it later. And I want my system to be as little internet chatty as it can be. Okay, then really the bulk of my script looks something like this. It's a bunch of statements to download and extract projects from GitHub. So let me give you an example. How about we take something like let's see. Well, Hashcat. I usually load Hashcat by default, but how about something? Let me just find a better. Oh, I know. Let me pull down my favorite SMB enumeration tool out there, and that is PowerHuntShares. So a huge chunk of my script looks like this: an invoke web request command, to basically just say, go out to the PowerShell's PowerHuntShares repo, pull down this zip, save it to here. In fact, let's just do it, right? We'll do it live. What could go wrong? Go wrong. Okay, so if we look at public and test tools, we should see, there we go, PowerHuntShares.zip. Okay, and then I found an error in my script. It's kind of funny. I was just doing a pen test this week, and I was wondering why my PowerHuntShares zip was not extracted. Destination. Well, let's see. Maybe I've got. I don't know. Let me just see. Maybe I've got a error with it, but I think they should work. Nothing like just live troubleshooting on a stream, right? What could go wrong? Oops. Oops. Okay. Okay. Let's try that one more time. Expand archive to destination path. Oh, did I miss the? Is that it? Oh, well, there is my. Look at that. We're figuring out stuff on the fly. I think I commented this out because it wasn't working, and this was the fix. Flipping. Oh, double quote mark. And those of you who are probably developers are like, dude, it happens. Don't worry about it. But there we go. We've fixed a problem. But that just so if I look at POW now, I think I should have. Let's see. Look here. I haven't extracted. PowerHuntShares. Let's see. Did that extract it to destination? Oh, tools AD. Okay. If I go into AD, now it has extracted itself. What is it? 12.8. Oh, this one. Okay. So there it is. You certainly wouldn't have to do this as part of your script. But again, I kind of like the idea that while I'm going through the build process, if you're going to go through the time in the build process to pull down your tools, why not extract them and kind of organize them in areas that make sense to you? Also, in my script, there is, in here, I'll just bring it up side by side. In my script, I have a ton of mkdir commands. Whoops. So part of my script comes in here like this, and it goes like, make dir cool stuff, make dir, whatever. As you can see, I kind of sort it like this: tools for cred dumping, tools for password cracking, tools for privilege escalation. and then towards the end of my script, there is a bunch of move commands that just move all these tools to the right places, and so on. You can, that's just kind of basic stuff, but I've maybe gone overboard, but I kind of want to hit the ground running. I want to know where all my tools are, and I want them to be organized by folder. So that's why I do things that way. And let me see, PowerHuntShares. Okay, so again, the tools part of my script is a bajillion T lines that look basically like this. No special sauce. However, then what I do as this script is winding down is install all the Windows updates. And this is something that probably, if you want this, I'll just send this to you. I don't think I have this on the website anywhere. And this is again something that I found off of a Spiceworks forum. But these are the packages and the commands required to install the different modules that allow you to install all the Windows updates just via PowerShell command line. And what I learned the hard way was to have this statement at the end of all this. So this installs your prerequisites, okay? And then when you actually tell it, okay, cool, you've downloaded all the updates, now update everything. This ignore reboot at the end is very important because, as the name implies, it will not just go, oh, cool, let me reboot. Because if it does that, then anything after that in your script is not going to run. So, you could certainly do this, make this be at the very end of your script, I suppose, too. But I just like to not have it do an auto reboot. I like to have it just pull down and install the updates. And then I run a few more things. So let me see. Those last few things are, let's see, I got to be careful to copy this and paste this because it does have, give me 1 second. Let me just sanitize this real quick. I've got a script that adds a new local admin. And I just want to sanitize this before I send this. My task here. And I think it looks like, oh, I guess, oh, never mind. Never mind. It's simpler than I thought. My task goes here. I just run a command to this one. This one sets the local user password. And I think what I've gotten here somewhere is like an algorithm that randomizes the password. Yes. Oh, because in my autoattend script, I have a just basic local admin with a simple password. So I have a statement that comes in here later and sets the local user, that is my local admin, to a string that you would specify here. Okay. I think in my build script, I was having problems with things, so I made it a very basic password. So at the end of the build, I just want to make sure I change it to a nice secure password. And then actually, I remember now, this is just a static value in my build script. But before sending this knuck out the door, I make sure the Windows build does truly have a unique password that's not shared amongst anything else. Okay, let's see here. And then I think that's, let me just double check. I think that's about it. Yeah, I talked about doing some move commands to move everything where it needs to go. Was that it? Yeah, and then the very last part of my script to shut down just has this: shut down, tac R for reboot, and then tac T for time, and 1 is 1 second. Reboots, and then I'm, I still have to throw maybe a couple more tools on there, like remote access tools, and I've got a utility that auto patches all the third-party stuff on the box, but that's like 3 minutes of manual time to get this, ready for show ready for the customer. Okay, let me go back really quick to chat here. Let's see. Steve says set execution policy remote signed. Oh, is that for Steve? Is that in reference to the getting PowerShell scripts to run without complaining about their security? I think that might be what you're going after. Okay, so let's say, let me move things around here. Let's say that that's it. Let's say that this auto unattend answer file is ready to go. Here's what we do with it to get us one step closer to a self-building VM. I'm going to go over to that S drive where I had extracted the Windows ISO. So at the beginning of this, I showed you that I just extracted the Windows ISO to a folder called W. And then, where is it? Sources? No, where do you put that file? I don't remember right now. It might be just on the root. Hold on a second. 10. Hold on a second. Let me look real quick at my actual, like, formally built one. If you will just bear with me for 1 second. I think it just goes in right in here, but I don't want to point you to the wrong place. Give me just a minute or two. I just got to find an example here. So I don't have you put it in the wrong folder, because if it is in the wrong folder, then nothing is going to start, and I don't want you mad at me. So let me see here. Oh yeah, right in with auto run and boot and et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so all you would do once you build your cool answer file, just plop it right here. Now, someone in the chat, if you've been through this before and you know that I'm wrong on this, please speak up. The first few times, what I did is I fired up our friend AnyBurn, and I chose, let's see, here we go. Create image file from files or folders. So I did that option. I chose add, and I went to S, and I went to the W drive where we extracted the Windows ISO, and I selected everything, and I said add, and then I went like next, and I wrote it out to an ISO file. And I can't remember now because I've been doing this I've had this process for like a couple years. Something didn't work. Was it that it wasn't recognized as boot media or something like that? It could be possible with AnyBurn. Could be just a pebcac, right? Problem exists between, or maybe pebBap or pebback. Problem exists between Brian and keyboard is likely what's going on. However, doing a little more research on it, what gave me immediate success was doing it the quote-unquote Microsoft way. So by using this utility called oscdimg, and if I'm not mistaken, that comes along with, just so I'm providing some context here, that comes right along with the Windows deployment kit, or what is this called? Windows System Image Manager. I think it gets installed along with that. So that's how I got that. So this long string here is off of this is off of Microsoft's site, but what they have you do is feed this command a few file locations. So the important parts are, and this looks weird, right? Some of this looks like typos, like you've got this whatever B flag right next to a path for etfsboot.com, but that's where all my extracted stuff lives. Okay, so if I just bring up W boot, right there is etfs boot. Boom. So that's why that is what it is. Then you also need to you need to point in the boot folder to efisys.bin. Okay, so that's in EFI, Microsoft boot, efisys.bin. Okay, and then I think these last two paths are, where is your extracted Windows ISO, which we just saw. That is in S drive W subfolder. Okay. No thanks, OneDrive. Not right now. And then what do you want to call the file that is written out? The new automagic ISO that we're going to churn out of this process. What do you want that to be called? So just so it sticks out, I wanted to call it Windows 7777777.iso. So let's see if that will work. Let's bring up a command prompt here. Let's go. Whoops. Let's go to, so yeah, if you're looking for it on your system, here's where I found it. That's what makes me think it comes along with this deployment kit. But it should be right here. There it is. Okay. And hopefully when I was tinkering with this earlier, I got all my paths right. Otherwise, this might turn into a brief troubleshooting session. But let me paste that path. And oh yeah. Oh yeah, Kool-Aid time. Actually goes pretty fast too. And this is a machine with not a whole lot of oomph to it. Okay, so if we go to, no, not if we go into the Mac toolbar, but if we go into S drive, there we go. We got Windows 77777. Okay, so if the technical gods are in your favor, all you should have to do now is upload that to your VMware NUC or your your VMware. So what I did is in the storage for this NUC, if I go here to the data store browser, I just make a folder called ISOs, and then here is my actual custom one right here. But just hit upload. No, upload it there. Okay, and then all you've got to do in your Windows shell is edit the settings, come down here to the CD or DVD drive, choose to have an ISO file mounted, and then just hit browse to it. VMware does this annoying thing where I don't know if there's rhyme or reason to it, but usually I'll pick my ISO, hit OK, and then it won't connect. And that's because it decided to untick either this box or this box. And that makes me red hot mad. And I don't know why that is. But I'm going to hit connect to power on and connect. I wish it was just connect or disconnect, but beggars can't be choosers, I guess. All right, hit save. That should happen. Okay, no complaints. So now let me just hit virtual power, and as it starts up here, I choose boot to CD drive. Yep, boot. We should be in like a dirty shirt. I'll just watch just the first couple steps here, but this is where you might end up with finding out if you're. There could be a lot of troubleshooting here to see if your autoattend file works right. But the idea would be I would not be prompted for what hard drive do you want to install to? Oh, there's already Windows here. You have to remove all the partitions and then you have to bippity boppity boo. No, this, and you want to be careful with this too, right? If you set it this way, this should say, hey, C drive, I don't care what's on you. You're going down. And you can tell already that has happened. That was successful because look at this. It went right to Windows files being copied. And I'm just going to kill this and not let it finish because I don't want it to start to download big files and stuff. But this is ready to rock, fully automated style. Okay. So hopefully you've found that pretty cool. I know that I'm a big dumb animal and I'm a dork and I get far too excited about this, but my wife won't listen to me about this because she doesn't care. So I figure share it with my friends who do. Oh shoot, we're almost out of time, and I didn't even get to the Linux stuff. I wonder if we're better off setting that for a second for a follow-up. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll do the power 5-minute overview of doing the equivalent of this in Kali, and then kind of based on your feedback, if I'm hearing from folks who see this recording later and are like, we want to do more of this or more focus specifically on Linux, we can do that. But we do have about 10 minutes. Let me just punch through and just give you the highlights of doing what we just did, but with Kali. And I've covered this on the podcast a little bit. So let me give you that link. And oh, thank you, Steve. Yeah, for the clarification on execution policy being restricted by default. That podcast episode talks about this in more detail. Let me also copy these links to you. But in the Kali world of things, they have a file called kali.preseed that really does a lot of the same things that the autoattend or auto-unattend does in Windows. So kind of think of them as doing the same thing. The kali.preseed is going to automatically do some stuff when you pop in a Kali ISO. So what I do in our environments is I download the small. Let me see if I've got the link up. Let's see. I download the one called, there it is, Kali Net Installer, and that's just a smaller. It's just a smaller ISO that doesn't have as much. It's just only a few hundred megs. Let's see there. Okay, there it is. Net installers. So I just want to copy these things out. Okay, so I download that guy. And if you open, let's see, do I have just a default one? Oh, I do, because I extracted Kali here to the K file. So if you go under the Kali ISO, go into simple CDD folder. There is a file here. Here we go, kali.preseed. And if you open it up, let's see, is this mine or is this? No, this is just kind of their default. So this, this is foreign to me. This doesn't, I'm used to looking at the Windows things, right? Invoke web request, extract archive, right? I didn't know what a lot of these things meant. So those links that I just sent you for those 2 GitHub projects, those will give you a whole bunch of good knowledge on what this context and what these different commands mean. I believe I took one of those projects as my canvas or kind of my base kali.preseed file. And then I'm going to open up mine. I put that right here, I think. Oh, there it is. Yes. Okay. So what you're seeing here, this is pretty much the config of one of those preseed projects that I just pasted to you. And I kept it pretty much as is. I think one thing I did here is I made myself a standard user account that out of the box will just be user 7minsec, password 7minsec, just to have something, just to have a user account already created automatically that I can go in and tinker with. And then with the goal of keeping things simple, I, much like I did in that autoattend file, I have one statement here that pulls down from one of our websites a shell script, saves it to the opt folder, and runs it. Okay, a file called kali.sh. And then everything else is pretty standard right off of those other build scripts that I sent you. So let me bring up that file a little bit just so you can get a feel for the kinds of things that we put in it to make our build process a little bit more automated. What am I here? Oh. Here's kind of a sample from our master build script. At the top of it, I have I just run a sudo apt-get update to pull down all the latest Linux packages. And then I've got a line here that installs a whole bunch of stuff that I know I need later, like Docker, because I'm going to pull down some Docker things, aircrack.ng if I'm doing wireless password cracking. What else is here? OpenSSH server, Python 3 pip, all these sorts of things. And then I add attack Y at the end to just say, yes, I want to eat up this disk space and install this stuff. And then this one is can be very important. This one just enables SSH for remote access and also turns it on so that it's set at every reboot to fire up for you. I ran into a situation with one, I don't know if this was a Kali default at one point where it used the whatever UFW is, user firewall or simple firewall, that somehow got turned on and was blocking SSH connections. So, I ran into the problem once. Now I just hard tell my system, shut that UFW off. We don't want that. And then the bulk of my script is commands to simply pull down tools from the internet. And in some cases, like right here, I'm installing Certify, which is a Active Directory certificate services attacking tool. I'm pulling that down to opt Certify, and then I'm changing directories to that folder and running the install, because the install does pull down some prerequisites. And like I said earlier, a few times, I don't want to pull all that stuff down when it's at the customer site, because they tend to see, oh, we saw you download from, mirrors.kali. whatever, and we got you. Yeah, okay. And then I also, just because this file, this kali.sh is sitting on my Kali box, I've made some cheat sheets to myself for tools like Wi-Fight, the wireless pen testing tool. So I pull down the tool, and then I have a couple commented out comments to myself about, oh yeah, to actually get this tool running, I've got to kill any services that might be interfering with it. I've got to set my wireless interface to monitor mode and turn it up, that kind of stuff. And then part of the commands in the script also pull down. There's certain things like crackmap exec, and what's the other big one? Better cap. A few of these other ones, I personally find it easier to run with Docker. So I just, because I had installed Docker as a prerequisite up here, right? By the time it hits this place in the script, I can just use Docker pull commands and just pull down fresh copies of those containers. That's awesome. And then I always forget how to actually get into crackmap exec and run things. So I put little cheat notes to myself there. And then just last couple things in my script, I make a note to self that sometimes what we end up doing on pen tests is they spin up a Kali instance in Azure or something like that and give us remote access to it. And that's fine. I just get a little paranoid because I don't really want them to see my command history and stuff. Not like I've got any secret squirrel stuff, but I type too fast and I fat finger things about 30% of the time, and then they don't run. So I don't, not that a client has ever told me this, but I don't like the idea that they might look through my command history and be like, did this guy pass grade school? Like, does he even know how to spell Wi-Fi or sudo? So I put this note to self that if you open this SHRC and you comment out these lines, then your command history will stop auto completing and tracking, and it'll be just kind of an empty history file. So that's not something I do when we're owning and operating the NUC, but if I'm using a client's virtual Kali, I'll make that change. And then the final thing here, I like to know, final thing, and then we'll let you go. I like to have a heartbeat monitor on my systems. So let me just real quick drop a link to you. I really like the Uptime Robot service, which can do, let me drop the link to you because we covered it. They're not like a sponsor or anything. We're not getting paid to say nice fruity things about them. But they have you could say, hey, ping this website or check this website for a certain word. And if you see that, that means the website is up. If you don't see it, alert me. They also have these heartbeats that you can install and have it run as like a Windows scheduled task, or in this case, a cron job. And so this is a note to myself that if I edit the cron tab file, and every 2 minutes I have a curl command go out to a unique URL, that will tell me if the Linux box is up or not. Because sometimes I've had a small heart attack where I lose network access right in the middle of doing some pen testing stuff. And my worst case scenario brain goes, oh my gosh, I took down the network. I took down that system. This, that, and the other, or maybe the NUC crashed or whatever. Sometimes it's just that my remote desktop service is having problems and the Uptime robot pings are still coming home. So even though I can't remote in, if that makes sense, the boxes themselves are still letting Uptime robot know everything's fine. We're up on the network. And then I don't worry so much about it, or if I suddenly see the Windows VM and the Kali VM report offline, then probably they're having network issues or power outage or something of that nature. So it also helps when I ship the device out there and they power everything up. I have Uptime Robot on my Windows box, and that is sending regular pings to say I'm online. Sometimes that's my first indication. I get a little push notification and go, oh, cool. The Windows box at client X is now up. I'm ready to start my test. Okay, that was a lot. And I really appreciate you checking it out. If you have any other comments and questions, I got a couple more minutes. Otherwise, hope you have a great day. Hope you join us. Check out the podcast. Check out all the things. 7ms.us. That's where all the podcast episodes are, and some other links. Although maybe the website's down. I don't know. Doesn't seem to be loading, but that's fine. And then it's not fun. And then 7minsec.com is can't be reached. Okay. Well, I don't know. Maybe internet's down. Google.com. Well, I seem to be having issues, but hopefully it's just in my test environment and not the live stream. But thanks again. Let us know if we can do anything for you. Have a blessed day and week. And I'm going to be really professional here. I'm going to sign you out with a little bumper video. Okay. So hopefully that will play now, and hopefully we'll see you next time. All right. Bye-bye. You've been watching or listening to 7 Minute Security, a weekly podcast focused on pen testing, blue teaming, and building a career in security. For more episodes like this, visit 7ms.us. And for information about our consulting services, visit 7minsec.com.